if you're struggling with being able to say and see what you want, start with what you don't want, and then ask yourself, what's the opposite of that? Oh, okay. Well, then what are the things that would support that? What's the language? What are the actions that would support that opposite of what you don't want? It's like, well, I don't want to waste my time running around with buyers and not getting paid. Okay, well, then what's the opposite of that?
Welcome back to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. Matt Benelli's here with me today, just the two of us. We're going to have some fun. Our whole focus today is to protect the flame. And this came up as a topic Matt and I were discussing of, one of the most important things you can do is protect your energy, protect your drive and your emotions that you have internally, because they can get away from you and run rampant and kick all the walls out of the stable. And all of a sudden you wonder what in the world just happened. But if you can protect the flame, you can move mountains, you can create amazing things, you can bring together amazing people. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So Matt, good morning, sir. I'm excited to have this time with you.
Good morning. I am excited to be here with you as well, and excited to dive into this topic. We were talking about hey, what's working for people? What are the tactics, the strategies, the actions? Where are people getting business from? And we always have our preferred methods, right? But there's this common theme among the people who are successful right now, and it is their mindset. It's the words they use to describe their own business as well. That's the common thread there. We're now a few weeks into, maybe over a month if your MLS changed over early on, these new quote unquote rules. And, at the time of this is released, at the time of the recording, it's kind of before that. But I'm over the freak out. I'm over the negative conversation around different things. I'm not saying that we should put our heads in the sand, but we really should be looking at this from a different way, because your business deserves it, your clients deserve it, and quite honestly, your personal lifestyle deserves it too.
Yeah. It's interesting, Matt. The thing I watched here just recently, and again, this has happened a little bit, there's a little bit of time here because we recorded this one a little bit early. I was watching agents saying, I just can't wait till the interest rate drops. When the interest rate drops, everything's going to change. There's going to be this rush of people that come in. And I had a couple coaching calls where the people I was coaching were like, nothing. Like it dropped. And I was like, I was listening to all of you, and I was going, if there's a 5 in front of that interest rate, and there's not a spike of people going like, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's go do this. It is not interest rate driven. And I'm like, all right, we need to get our mind out of the things we can't control and focus on the things we can control. Like, I'm sitting around and waiting for outside influences to allow you to be successful in this career and in this business and allow you to have the wins that you want to have is not a winning game plan. We can't do that. But we do need to sit back and communicate with our people and talk with them. And this is how this started, Matt, as I started sharing with you that I'm watching very specific people out here that are having not only success, but having enough success that they feel awkward about it. And I think that's really funny. They feel awkward about being successful, but they're like kind of coming into their office and going like, I don't feel like I'm fitting in with this group of people. Like I'm having a really good year, and I got a lot of people that are just negative and they're focusing on all this other stuff and all this other energy. And they're like, I don't even want to be around it. I had one person yesterday say, I'm thinking about going and renting another office space again outside of my office because I got to get away from the environment because it's not helping me. It's not making me be the agent that I want to be. And this is where you jumped in and you said, this is an energy thing more than it is a system thing. I think it's a combination of it all. But you got my full attention because I'm an energy person.
Well, and systems are important, but without the right energy, the systems may not work, right? You can have the best system in the world, but if you're not putting the right effort, if you don't have the right belief system into it, then it may not work. Can it? Yes. And there's always outliers and all these things. But I know several agents too, and I had a conversation with one who is considering changing companies just because of the conversations and nothing to do with the leadership and the support and all that stuff. Is just like, I don't want to be around people who are just like all bummed and think that the world is crashing, right? And interestingly enough, Garrett, like we just did our live coaching session inside our program about affirmations. You did a awesome little thing on affirmations, which if you guys want to go check that out, life@10tense.com to join our program. But we also have the book of the month, which is The Psychology of Money. And in that book, Morgan Housel talks about optimism versus pessimism and how the pessimistic headlines always get published, whether they're right or wrong. And the optimistic headlines never get published, whether they're right or wrong. And he used the example of Japan post-World War II. And he said, so you're in Japan post-World War II, and you went and said, hey, guys, in the next decade, over the next generation, we're going to become one of the most powerful economies in the world. The United States is going to be our strongest ally. In fact, they're going to model the way we do business. People would have said you're nuts. And that's exactly what happened to Japan. But you see headlines of, oh gosh, the world is going to crash. It happens all the time, right? And those headlines get published even if they don't come true. And we do this to ourselves all the time, particularly in business, right? Oh, these rule changes are going to completely destroy how we work with buyers.
You're going to be
never going to be able to work with buyers again, right? And it's like, well, is that true? And how do you know that's true? And at the same time, even if it's possible, isn't it also possible that you might be able to make it more money than you've ever made before because you can actually have a wonderful working relationship up front with a buyer, as an example?
Well, it's interesting is one of the most powerful things my dad ever taught me, and it was the simplest thing was if you believe you can or if you believe you can't, you're probably right. Again, if you believe you can or if you believe you can't, you're probably right. And I've watched this in my children over the years, and I have a child now. I say child, she's 20. Still a kid in my mind. And it's funny, she right now is an avid reader. I watch her, she's consuming books all over the place, grabs books up, always talking about the next book she's reading, just devouring information. It's really fun to watch her because she went through school telling us that she can't read. She went through school telling us forever, I can't read. We'd put something in front of her and she would just look at us and go, I can't read. And she owned it. And it's not that she couldn't read, because I would watch her do something and she would just go sit there and look at it, and she would all of a sudden start telling me about it. I'm like, you can read. And she'd be like, what? I'm like, and she goes, oh, this is different. And this is an energy and a belief that she had created for herself. And whether she grabbed it from a student at her school that heard her read one time and they went, you can't read. And she went, oh God, maybe I can't read. Like, oh God. And then she owned it, like really owned it. She finally let it go. And now she's just consuming information. And I look at this, and we own this when we jump into real estate. And people say, well, it's going to take 6 months to a year to get your first sale. Oh, okay. Well, let's own that one. And then when all of a sudden the marketplace does something weird and that well-meaning agent in the office goes, this is going to be hard times for all of us. This is going to be really difficult. And we all kind of fall into this groove of like, well, they've been around this business long enough. I might hold on to that. This is protecting the flame is what we're talking about. Like you need to be very careful of where you're at, what you're creating, and where you want to go right now. You can get pulled into all the media. You can get pulled into all the people in your office they don't know any better. They're making judgments and ideas based off what they know, and what they know may be wrong. Just let's be very, very, very clear. They might be very wrong. They might have some sort of screwed up information that they got from somebody, some news headline they read, and now they've decided that to be truth, and now they're imparting that on you. Let it go. It is good to know what's going on, but at the same point, like, protect your flame, protect your energy. What do you want to focus on? Where do you want to go? What do you want to create? This is the opportunity that's in front of you right now. And Matt, it's amazing when you watch somebody that has that belief that I can, and nothing gets in their way.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Same environment.
Environment's important. And well, there's two ways I think you can start, like two first steps with protecting the flame. And one is the elimination of consumption of things that don't serve you, which maybe sometimes is hard. And a way to even combat that is look at your words. first pay attention to the language you use when you have conversations. If somebody comes to you and says, oh my gosh, like these changes, it's going to be horrible for us, you can either choose to engage in that conversation in a way where you're like, yeah, I know, right? Even though you may not believe it, which those words are affirming that you now believe that. Or you can say, I hear what you're saying, but I think there's a different opportunity ahead for us, right? You can change your words. I was having a conversation with somebody just yesterday about airline flights. They're going on a business trip and they're like, well, I want to fly direct, but the only direct flights are really early in the morning and really late at night. These are such horrible options. I said, well, we could look at them as horrible options. I said, well, then take a connecting flight. The person said, well, no, I don't want to do that. That's going to like double my travel and everything. I said, okay, so every option is horrible then, right? Yeah. I was like, well, what if every option is great? And you just need to look at what are the opportunities with each option that you have.
What if your only option before this was a horse? Are any of these better options? These are amazing options.
What's the opportunity of taking the early morning and now you get some quiet time and focus time to sit down and do some things that you've really wanted to do? And it's just how we talk to ourselves and through things. I mean, I know that might seem minor, but that can amplify your flame in a positive way if you're speaking, good things about these situations, or it can snuff that flame out if you just lean into the challenges, the worst parts of everything. It's like, I mean, just as simple as getting stuck in traffic. It's there. You can't control it. You can either talk about how awful it is or just don't talk about it at all. As Trevor Moawad would say, is like, just stop saying bad things. Let's start there. With even more basic, instead of saying good things, just stop saying the bad stuff so that doesn't come out and get amplified.
Well, and I think it's interesting too, that if you watch somebody who's in a good mindset, they have good energy around them, they will look at that and say, well, what is the gift that this has given me? This situation that I'm in right now, that may not be the one that I was hoping I was going to have, but what am I going to get out of this moment right now? Well, this traffic that I'm in is going to give me extra time to catch up on a book that I've been wanting to catch up on. I get a chance to listen to it. I get to catch up on a podcast. By the way, there's a good one out there, Life at 10 Tenths. If you've heard about it, share with your friends.
Great podcast.
Oh, it's amazing. Good, nice guys too.
Yeah. They're so handsome too.
Yeah, they are. All right. So, but going down that, like, it's like, what can I get out of this moment? What can I take away from it that's going to make this a great moment? This is this mindset piece that you get to make the choice of every single day of am I going to be pissed off about this? Am I going to have this energy transfer over to my next thing? Because my next thing is I'm going to a listing appointment. And now I'm mad that I've been stuck in traffic and this was a waste of my time. The trip that you were talking about, am I mad that it took me 3 stops to get to this destination that I want to get to? Was I still able to get to this destination that I wanted to be at? Did we make that work? And the other part is like, this is why I kind of joked around with the horse. It's like, sometimes it's an interesting place to look at and go like, man, if we go back to, 150 years ago, was this even possible?
The fact that you can fly somewhere in a matter of hours is incredible, right?
There's a great comedian out there that talks about that, where he's like, everybody gets so upset over their plane being delayed. He goes, let's just imagine you're going to fly through the air in a tube. Like, just imagine how amazing this is that you're actually able to do this. And I think it's just it's a perspective that helps a lot of people manage their flame.
I read a stat too, and this was interesting to me because how many times do you hear people complain about flights being delayed? Like all the time, right? How many times do you hear people just praise, my flights were on time? That's like the expectation. And the stat that I read was that 80% of the time, every flight in the entire country is on time.
The stats,
That's
what
pretty
they
good.
are able to do to manage that many planes, there's websites you can look at to see how many planes are in the air at any given time.
It's outrageous.
It's
right?
wild. Like, you think you just look up in the sky and you're like, oh, look, I see either a jet stream or from a plane, or I see maybe 2 planes up there, but that's just in your view. There are so many planes in the air at any given time. And to know that 80% of them make their arrival time and departure time on time, it's amazing. It's literally a miracle.
Which kind of means, now I know that obviously you can't take a big stat and pare it down into, because everybody has their unique situations, but that means like you probably only have a 20% chance of your flight being delayed or canceled, which, hey, that's cool. I'm down for that.
And let's just say this, most of those stats of those flights are going to get canceled or get delayed. It's Reading Airport is actually what it is. It's my town. That makes up for a good 10% of all the flights that are not going to make it to where they need to go. So I think you got to
I've
look
got
at
about
that.
50-50 with Reading Airport right now. So
So you look at those stats and go, that's also not the major international airports. The major international airports, if I wanted to get from Sacramento or San Francisco to New York, and I wanted to plan a trip that allowed me to get off my flight, go directly to a conference, speak, and then get back on a plane and fly home, there's a very good chance that that's going to work smoothly as long as, certain times of the year and things you can weigh into.
And so let's bring this into business, because those are stats that we can look at and we can validate whether our belief system may be true or maybe we're kind of exaggerating it, right? But then we get into a situation in business where we literally have no idea potentially what's going one way or the other. So why not choose the optimistic viewpoint? And I will say this too, like being optimistic, choosing positive words does not make you ignorant. It doesn't make you complacent, and it doesn't make you unwilling to grow or see what's going on. It just has you choosing to have positive energy so that no matter what happens, you're going to probably move through it a lot better with a smile on your face versus, upset and anger and all that kind of stuff. Because, the pessimist, Garrett, I've never seen a pessimist who becomes right be all excited. They're like, oh, I told you so. They're still upset. I'm just like, well, you were right. Shouldn't you be happy? It's like, no, because this is horrible. I'm like, oh, well, that's awful. You just set up bad energy and you're just carrying it through. That I feel bad.
So I've shared this story before, but I'll share it again because it's been a couple years since I shared this. But I have a really good friend, Diane. We've been friends for long enough that this is not a one-off, like, oh, I saw this happen once. Oh, what a fluke. She was right. Like, she creates this every single time without fail. And it's one of those, it's become comical in our friendships. But we will go out to eat. And I don't care if we're going out to eat or we are ordering food to be delivered to wherever we're at. And we have stayed in, families have stayed in hotels. We have traveled together. We've done Airbnbs and we have ordered food in for the entire family. And she has a belief and a self-talk that says, out of all the orders that are going to come, mine's going to get screwed up. Without fail. She will say it. She's like, I'm going to order this. She goes, it's not going to come out right though. And she sits there and she thinks about it. She thinks about all the meals she's ever had that have never shown up right. And then sure enough, it shows up at the table and you just watch her go, yep, screwed mine up. And it's funny. I've watched it and gone like, did she have an expectation that she set for herself that what showed up wasn't what she was expecting? Or did it actually get messed up back in the kitchen? And did the server not hear her specifically? And I'm like, how do you do this? Because it's never her fault other than she comes with the belief that my meal is going to get screwed up. That is where I will give her all the ownership of what happens here. But the amount of times that we've ordered food, had it delivered to the house, and we're sitting there and we open it up and she's like, she goes, this isn't mine. She goes, who has mine? I got this. All of us are sitting there with our meals and she's got this horrible thing that's not what she ordered. I'm like, Diane, how did you do that? Like you are so powerful beyond measure, but you're not using your power for good. But I think Diane's a brilliant example of like, we all have that power. We all create the environments that are around us. We are always doing this. And I know I coach a lot of people, Matt, you do too. And some of them we've done a lot of work with for many, many, many years of focusing on their mindset, focusing on what they want to achieve, focusing on the goals that are out in front of them, not focusing on the roadblocks or the obstacles, but focusing on the paths that are going to get them to where they want to go. And a lot of these guys have these very solid working plans and energy moving in this direction. And it freaks them out when they watch the environment around them and people are doing different things and failing or struggling. And they're going, why is that happening to them? Well, they have this mindset of I create this winning situation. It's amazing how much power we have out here. And it's very easy to get caught up in all this news, this media, this stuff, and to all of a sudden go, oh, woe me. This is going to be the toughest year I've ever had. It's going to be so difficult to be able to make the numbers I want. I need to be accepting that I'm not going to hit the goal that I wanted to hit for this year. And I have to stop and ask people, like, it's February. Like, will you stop talking about that, setting that stage for what this is to be? Because I hate to say it, you're probably right. I'll give it to you. It's probably going to be the worst year you've ever had. Doesn't mean it has to be.
Well, it's safer, I think, from a mindset perspective to play the negative, right? Because if you're correct, it's like, see, I was right, just like Diane's food. Now, if her
Very
food comes out great, then cool. Good outcome. Hey, I'm okay with being wrong when it's better on the other end, right? And I think that's the non-conscious energy that we get in there. And so for people who are doing well and kicking butt and they see other people, like that safety mechanism goes off going like, ooh, am I missing something? Right? Is there a danger ahead that I'm not paying attention to and I need to because I want to be safe? Because
We also want to be normal.
well, if you say things are going to be amazing and you're not correct,
That's true.
it might people like will tear you down for that a little bit, right? And which is unfortunate. And here's the other thing. Who cares? Like, yep, I guess I wasn't as right. Like, yeah, instead of interest rates or whatever. I mean, even predicting things you can't control is a whole nother thing. But it's like, yep, I didn't hit my goal of doing 1 million, but I did 800,000. And that's pretty cool, right? Or versus, oh man, I'm not going to even make 100,000 this year. It's like, yeah, well, probably won't with that. Like the positive mind and using the right words day in, day out to help reinforce it. Because this isn't an overnight, cure either, Garrett, right? I mean,
No.
we haven't even talked about in detail the environment yet, but I mean, using right words one time, it's like using an affirmation once is going to mean nothing. But using it over and over and over again, day in, day out, month in, month out, that is going to create a positive change and a positive impact in your life and thus the lives of the people around you too.
Well, as we've talked about before, Matt, your subconscious brain's number one goal is to maintain sanity. So what it's doing is it's going out into the world saying, okay, what is my belief? What is the belief that I've structured for myself? And I need to go make sure it makes sense. For my daughter, for a long time, with her saying, I can't read, she looks at a paper and she takes all the words and she jumbles them all around. Her subconscious brain does it for her, just goes, mixes them all around. And she starts stumbling around and can't figure out why a word says a certain word. So it says a certain sound. And she just goes, I'm out. I can't read. I can't do this. And then at some point for her, she all of a sudden went, I can read. I actually can do this. And she changed her belief system. And all of a sudden, those words fall in line. The letters start to fall into place on the paper. No, I'm going to call out my other daughter here too, because for years she used to say she couldn't make friends. She's like, I'm just not good at making friends. I'm not good at making friends. I'll never forget. She went to a soccer camp in Santa Cruz and we were picking her up. She's bouncing over to the car. And I said, how was the soccer camp? Like, what did you learn? What did you do? What did you guys study? What was the structure of it? And her first thing out of her mouth was, I can make friends. And I went, what? She's like, I made friends. She goes, I made friends. Like, I really made friends. Like, I can do this. Like, I can make friends. And it was a changing point for her. And all of a sudden, this ability of attracting in people and being open to people coming into her world. And it was just a belief system that shifted is what happened. And so first off, I would encourage everybody out here to write down, what is my beliefs right now? What is my belief around this marketplace? What is my belief around how business works for me? What is my belief about how many transactions of mine make it to the closing table right now? What is my belief about interest rates and how it's going to change my business and my world? And then I would encourage you to ask, is it BS? It was a complete crap, this thing that I've decided. And the other thing is, am I ready to let it go? Am I ready to let this pass and to move past this? And then the last part is, what do I want to see? What do I want to see? What do I want to create? What is this reality? Because I'll tell you all out here right now, if you want to take a little bit of what I know, because I see it and I work with enough people out here, there's great opportunity out here right now. This situation that we're going through in the United States with real estate and what this all means, I look at all of this as like one of the most amazing times for you to set yourself apart as a professional in this industry and to rise to the top. That's what I see coming down the pipeline. I see the opportunity right now coming up for people going out there going, consumers saying, I'm confused. I just tried to work with an agent over here who has this listing. They said they won't even show the property to me unless I can sign a contract with them. Then I have to go over here and I'm talking to this one. They won't. What do I do? And all it takes is them turning to their friend going, just want to buy a house right now. And they go, oh my gosh, let me introduce you to Matt Benelli. He's our agent. Don't worry. Yeah, you're going to have to sit down with them and do some paperwork. He will take care of you. He's amazing. That not having to sign a contract with a stranger and getting to sign it with their friends, person that they trust, like this is a crazy opportunity for those of you that are building relationship style businesses out here right now. Take that and run with it. Make that part of your mantra. Make that part of what your belief system is of where we're going, because that's what I see. And I've been around this long enough. I think I'm right.
Yeah, I'm completely on board with you on that one for sure. Obviously, I think we're aligned. And I like the process you went through there too. And I'll add one other element there. If you're struggling with being able to say and see what you want, start with what you don't want, and then ask yourself, what's the opposite of that? Oh, okay. Well, then what are the things that would support that? What's the language? What are the actions that would support that opposite of what you don't want? It's like, well, I don't want to waste my time running around with buyers and not getting paid. Okay, well, then what's the opposite of that? Well, having a process and spending time with buyers where I have a contract where I'm going to get paid. Oh, okay. Well, then what does that look like? What's the language? What are the actions that you need to have to support that? And if you're already in this place, coming back to where we started, Garrett, with the people who are doing well and worried about the negativity that's around them, is same thing. Continue to use the positive reinforcing language for yourself. Choose your words really carefully so that you can sustain what's going on in your world. And then if you need to make an environmental change, physically, hey, there's nothing wrong with that at all, because that probably will only elevate you while you're in this heightened state of positivity. You'll probably be able to find the right environment for you as well.
Yeah. And yeah, I know that when you're not in this space, I'll share with you my experience quickly on this, is that when you are in a negative space, and believe some people go, Gary, you go into a negative. Yes, I'm normal.
Yes,
I'm
we all
human.
do.
It happens. It happens to all of us.
You're a human being, right? You're not an alien.
I am a human being.
Okay, just make sure. Got it.
So the interesting thing is like there's this mindset of like, I just need to get myself into a positive place. Maybe I'll just focus on gratitude. Maybe I'll just focus on affirmations. That'll get me there. When you're truly in a rut, which I'm going to quote my dad again, when my dad used to say, the difference between a rut and a grave is only a couple feet. Get yourself out of a rut as fast as possible. I always look at that and go, okay, you're in a little bit of a rut right now. You are looking at things from the negative side. You're seeing the negative side of everything. I might not be ready to let it go yet. And I find when I'm like saying, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to write some positive affirmations. I need to bring gratitudes into my life. I need to turn media off. I need to do different things to protect this energy and protect this flame, or maybe get the flame relit again. Maybe the flame is completely out at the moment. It's not just as easy as going, let's just light the flame. And there's a place in there where you're going to bring all these things together, and it's very easy to go, but I'm not doing it. I'm not showing up. I'm not taking action. I'm not finding this flame. I'm not even, finding a spark right now. There's a moment though, when you surround yourself and you keep bringing it in and you keep bringing it in, you keep bringing it in, that all of a sudden your brain just goes, all right, I'm ready. It's like, okay, you are just keep pushing this stuff in, and we are acknowledging that I need to let this go. And then all of a sudden it goes. All of a sudden you find this new energy, you light that flame back up, and you can run with it. And I think that a lot of people get kind of beat up in that process of getting to that. And I just want to encourage all of you, if you find yourself in that place going, I hear Garrett just going like, oh yeah, you got to protect it and bring yourself around and surround yourself with positivity. And then there's that little voice in your brain that goes, this is crap. That you got to kind of like bring enough in to let that voice go, it might be crap, but I'm not willing to accept this anymore. And I want to make a change now. And that That's where you kind of got to get over that hurdle. So have fun with it.
Yeah, and I think that's why a lot of the happiest and positive people you see out there happen to have good discipline and good habits, because doing something like you just said takes discipline and building a habit for it, so that it doesn't mean that you're perfect, right? We all go through tough times, but the skills, you have the skills to be able to pull yourself out of it so you don't spend all of your time there. So, and it's okay to explore negative thoughts. I mean, that can go into a whole nother conversation, but I think we hit it on this one, Garrett. So if you find yourself questioning what's happening and you find yourself surrounded by questionable energy, protect your flame by two basic things to start. Distance yourself from things that are bringing negativity into your world, whether that be headlines or negative talk from other people, and also use your words appropriately. Watch out for negative self-talk. Use words that are positively affirming, that will help protect that flame of energy inside you so that you can go out there and thrive and help other people thrive too, because that's the beauty of it.
100%.
Awesome. Well, Garrett, thank you, man. Always a pleasure. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you want to come join our coaching program where you get to have access to myself and to Garrett, and you get to learn from us and be guided by us, you can go to lifeat10tenths.com and join the 11 Circle. Inside there, we do live coaching sessions where we will maybe teach on something and you can do Q&A. We have guests come in to lead workshops that will teach you new tools and skills that you may want to apply to your business and life. We have co-working sessions. We highlight books. There's a lot of things that we do in there, all designed together to help you harmonize your business and your lifestyle together so that you can thrive in all the areas that you want to. As we said at the beginning, right? We're here to help you live at the pinnacle of your ability and your purpose. And you can get a lot more detail of that inside the 11 Circle. So we hope you join us. Just go to lifeat10tenths.com for that. Otherwise, stay tuned to this podcast. We appreciate you guys listening. We're going to keep delivering all the things that we do here. And the greatest thing that you can do for us is to share it out with other people that you feel would benefit from this. So we appreciate everybody who does that. So just keep it up. We appreciate you guys a whole lot.
Appreciate it, everybody.